If you're watching this right now, understand something. This isn't coincidence. You didn't stumble here by accident. There's a specific frequency that called you to this moment, and that frequency is the universe responding to something that shifted inside you. Not tomorrow, not last week. Right now, something in your energy field has reached critical mass, and because of that shift, the quantum field has begun reorganizing itself around you. This isn't about positive thinking. This is about quantum recognition. You're no longer wishing for change. You're becoming the change. And there's a difference. For months, maybe years, you've questioned whether what you sensed was legitimate. You wondered if your intuition mattered, if your inner vision held any actual power. But here's what actually happened. Every moment you chose faith instead of fear, every time you remained open instead of closing down in bitterness, every calm choice you made, the field was recording it. The universe doesn't track your words. It tracks your energetic signature, and your signature just reached the threshold where overflow becomes inevitable. You're not running out of time. You're not falling behind some invisible schedule. You're not losing ground. You are being recalibrated. Right now, in dimensions you cannot perceive with your physical senses, entire systems are shifting. Timelines are converging. Energy is loosening around frozen resources. People are receiving intuitive hits about you without understanding why, and pathways are forming in the quantum field before they ever materialize in your three-dimensional reality. This is what true alignment feels like in the body. It doesn't feel loud. It doesn't feel frantic. It feels quiet, grounded, certain, without needing external validation. You might not see the money manifest yet, but something inside you feels different. There's a relief. There's a knowing. You feel trust replacing the constant urgency that used to drive you. And that internal shift, that's the signal the universe was waiting for. Wealth never flows toward panic. It flows toward nervous system regulation. And your nervous system is finally learning what safety feels like at a cellular level. You've stopped chasing external approval. You've stopped begging reality to prove itself to you. Instead, you expect the universe to support you. And that expectation isn't arrogance, it's magnetism. Your past difficulties weren't cosmic punishment. They were energetic training. They taught you patience when everything in you wanted to force. They taught you discernment when confusion was easier. They taught you how to hold greater capacity without fragmenting. You're no longer operating from a place of needing to prove your worth. And that's precisely why reality is about to prove itself to you. The universe is responding to the version of you that released control, softened the grip, and trusted the invisible architecture even when you couldn't see the blueprint. This is confirmation. Not because something external happened, but because something internal fundamentally shifted. Your energetic state is now compatible with exponential expansion, and exponential expansion doesn't wait. It responds immediately to coherence. Let that penetrate. You are allowed to receive abundance. You are allowed to expand beyond your current limitations, and you are allowed to experience ease, not as a reward, but as your natural state. This moment carries more weight than your logical mind can comprehend. Because once belief moves from the mental realm into the body, manifestation doesn't just accelerate. It becomes instantaneous in quantum time. Pay attention to what begins appearing in your reality now. Synchronicities that feel too specific to ignore. Timing that feels divinely orchestrated. Moments that carry the signature of intentional design. You might start noticing angel numbers appearing everywhere, repeating symbols, ideas dropping into your awareness fully formed with no logical origin. You think about something, and hours later it shows up in your physical reality. This is quantum responsiveness. This is the field answering a stabilized frequency. The universe operates as a mirror. Once your belief system stabilizes, and yours has stabilized, you're no longer asking from a place of lack consciousness. You're allowing from a place of readiness. Money isn't something to hunt down. It's something to welcome home. Your entire system has finally opened, and that openness transforms how everything in the quantum field moves toward you. Opportunities will feel natural, not forced. Abundance will arrive without pressure. Forward movement will no longer feel exhausting. You are stepping into a version of yourself that assumes things work in your favor. And that assumption is one of the most powerful forces in quantum mechanics. Alignment generates momentum without friction. Effort by itself never created sustainable wealth. Alignment creates flow states. You've released the programming that struggle equals value. You've stopped measuring your worth by how long something takes. You understand quantum timing now. Timing isn't punishment from the universe. It's precise calibration. Every pause was adjusting your frequency. Every detour was protecting the final outcome. Every delay was strengthening your capacity to hold what's coming. The version of you that couldn't hold this level of abundance no longer exists. You've learned energetic grounding. You've learned restraint. You've learned gratitude before manifestation. That's why what arrives now won't just come. It will stay. Expect inspiration, not desperation. Expect conversations that unlock doors you didn't know existed. Expect clarity about your next move without overthinking the entire path. Don't get trapped in the how. The how always follows the frequency. Move when movement feels clean. Rest when rest feels aligned. You don't need to convince the quantum field of anything. It already knows your readiness. Your only job is to remain receptive, remain grounded, and remain in gratitude. The wealth that's aligning with your frequency is larger than currency. It includes freedom. It includes time sovereignty. It includes choice. It includes the relief of not living in survival mode anymore. Money is simply the tool that allows those experiences to expand. You are safe to hold more. Let that truth integrate into your body. When your body believes it's safe, your external reality reorganizes itself to match. People will start responding to you differently. They'll listen with more attention. They'll respect your presence. They'll respond faster to your requests. This is energetic authority forming in real time. You no longer seek validation, and because you're not seeking it, it appears everywhere. Assume stability in all things. Assume support from the universe. Assume continuation of good things. Those assumptions become the quantum structure your reality builds itself upon. You're not in a waiting room anymore. You're actively participating in creation. Soon, you'll realize something profound. The life you used to imagine starts feeling completely normal, and that normality is how you know it's integrated. True alignment doesn't shock the system. It settles in. It becomes your daily experience so naturally that it feels like something you always knew was meant for you. You're not lucky. You're prepared. You weren't chosen randomly. You were chosen because you stayed open when closing would have been easier. You trusted when doubt was screaming at you. The universe doesn't work with people who only ask. It works with people who can hold. Your energy now carries stability. It carries clarity. It carries trust. And that combination transforms outcomes at the quantum level. As money and opportunity begin flooding your reality, you'll notice something even more important. Your peace doesn't leave. That's the real confirmation. Wealth that costs you your peace isn't alignment. Wealth that deepens your calm is alignment. You're entering a phase where things multiply organically. Ideas expand without force. Connections grow without manipulation. Resources circulate without strain. This happens because you're allowing, not forcing. Let gratitude become your baseline frequency, not as a technique to get things, but as recognition of what's already shifting. Thank the universe internally, not for what you want, but for what's already rearranged in the quantum field. Gratitude confirms trust, and trust accelerates manifestation speed. You no longer obsess over timing. Timing responds to readiness, and you are ready. Your identity has undergone a fundamental shift. You're not becoming someone you've never been. You're remembering who you've always been underneath the conditioning. Someone who expects universal support. Someone who receives easily. Someone who knows there is enough. This is the season where life feels lighter, where effort produces exponential results, where rest doesn't create loss. Let it feel normal. Let it feel deserved. Let it feel steady. This is what sustainable abundance actually feels like. One day, you'll look back and recognize the exact moment everything transformed. It was the moment you stopped needing proof before believing. That's when the universe moved fastest. You are in that moment right now. Hold the knowing. Stay receptive. Stay grounded. Everything you're aligning with is simultaneously aligning with you. This isn't the beginning. This is the confirmation that it's already done. There's another layer opening now, and it's quieter than everything that came before. This is where certainty replaces hustle. You're no longer trying to convince yourself things will work out. You simply assume they already are. That assumption changes how you move through space. Your decisions become cleaner. Your reactions become softer. Your confidence stops needing external noise to sustain itself. You begin noticing how little you rush anymore, how rarely panic takes over, how easily you let things unfold without micromanaging. This isn't laziness. This is trust integrated into your behavioral patterns. When trust becomes behavior, reality responds at quantum speed. You start making different choices. You say no without guilt. You wait without anxiety. You act without second-guessing yourself. These micro shifts create macro leverage in the quantum field. The universe doesn't respond to intensity. It responds to consistency. And your consistency is unshakable now. Money responds to calm authority. Opportunity responds to grounded presence. You're becoming someone who can manage expansion without losing their center. That's why more keeps showing up, not to test your limits, but to partner with your capacity. You might notice that problems no longer feel like personal attacks. Delays no longer feel like rejections. You understand that momentum continues even when nothing visible is moving. This understanding creates emotional stability, and emotional stability creates quantum power. You stop chasing validation from outcomes. You validate yourself internally first. That internal validation removes pressure from the manifestation process. Things arrive faster when they're not carrying the weight of your desperation. Your thoughts are becoming simpler. Your desires are becoming clearer. You want less noise, more depth. Less chaos, more sovereignty. Less proof, more knowing. That refinement matters. It signals readiness for scale. You're now operating from internal authority. You trust your timing. You trust your intuition. You trust your pauses as much as your actions. This balance allows abundance to move through you without distortion. Notice how your body feels when you imagine millions arriving. No tension, no fear, no guilt. That response tells you everything you need to know. Your system can hold what's coming. This is the phase where manifestation becomes maintenance. You're no longer building from zero. You're sustaining flow. That's an entirely different level of alignment. I want to ask you something. When did you first notice this shift happening in your own life? When did you feel the old patterns starting to break? Drop a comment below and share that moment of recognition. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. Soon you'll realize you're no longer preparing for your life. You're living it. And when that realization lands, you'll smile quietly to yourself because you'll know nothing needs to be proven anymore. This is where things root. This is where growth becomes stable. This is where abundance becomes normal. This is where you belong. Now comes the stage where everything feels simpler than you imagined. Not smaller, simpler. The noise fades away. The urgency dissolves. You stop asking when and start noticing how often things work out effortlessly. This is when alignment becomes your default setting. You move through your days with less resistance. Decisions feel obvious. You trust your first instinct more than your overthinking mind. When something isn't for you, it becomes clear immediately. When something is yours, it stays. This clarity conserves massive amounts of energy, and that conserved energy transforms into momentum. You begin noticing how often support arrives precisely on time. Not early, not late, exactly when you're ready to use it. Conversations lead somewhere meaningful. Ideas connect. Steps follow each other naturally. This is flow in its purest form. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. You know who you're becoming. That knowing silences doubt before it can take root. When doubt does appear, it passes through without taking residence. That's emotional maturity. And abundance responds to emotional maturity faster than anything else. Money starts to feel neutral, not charged with emotion, not heavy with meaning, just functional. This shift matters. When money loses its emotional charge, it moves more freely. You can receive without guilt. You can give without fear. Balance returns naturally. You start thinking long-term instead of urgent. You build instead of scramble. You plan from stability, not survival consciousness. These shifts compound exponentially. What once felt fragile becomes sustainable. You also notice how your presence changes environments. People feel calmer around you. Conversations deepen faster. Trust forms more easily. This is energetic coherence. Your inner world is no longer fragmented, and the outer world mirrors that coherence. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop checking progress obsessively. You trust that what's aligned continues even while you're sleeping. This trust protects your energy and keeps the channel wide open. This phase is about integration, letting abundance settle into your habits, your thought patterns, your nervous system. This is how it becomes permanent. Soon you'll realize you're not chasing anything. Everything that belongs to you meets you naturally. That's the result of alignment fully embodied. Stay present. Stay grateful. Stay grounded. This isn't a peak experience. This is your new baseline. This is where everything locks into place. Not with excitement, with certainty. I want you to pause right here. Take a moment and comment below with this exact phrase. I am ready to receive millions. Not as a wish, not as a hope, as a declaration to the quantum field, as a conscious signal that interrupts the old loop. Your comment isn't just words on a screen. It's an energetic signature that the universe reads. So comment now. I am ready to receive millions. You're no longer waiting for confirmation because your body already has it. Your thoughts are calm. Your expectations are steady. You move through life without rushing the outcome. You don't chase signs anymore. You notice results. You don't ask if things are working. You feel that they are. Your energy is no longer scattered across 1,000 worries. It's focused, clean, and consistent. That consistency is what creates permanence. You trust yourself now, not just emotionally, systemically. Your decisions feel aligned the moment you make them. You don't replay conversations endlessly. You don't doubt your instincts. You act and move forward. That forward motion compounds rapidly. Money no longer feels like something outside of you. It feels integrated, neutral, stable. You can receive without tension. You can hold without fear. You can grow without urgency. This is the state wealth responds to most powerfully. You stop reacting to delays. You understand momentum continues even when nothing appears to be moving on the surface. That understanding protects your peace and keeps the quantum channel open. You're no longer afraid of stillness. Your presence carries weight now. People feel it. Opportunities sense it. Things meet you where you stand instead of making you chase them across the field. This is what happens when self-trust replaces effort. If what you're hearing is resonating at a level deeper than words, if something in you is recognizing truth instead of just hearing information, then I invite you to subscribe. Not just to this channel, but to this frequency, to this space where consciousness and quantum mechanics meet, to this conversation that's happening beyond the algorithm. Subscribe to stay in this field, to stay connected to this movement, to remind yourself daily that you're not alone in this transformation. You realize that abundance didn't arrive suddenly. It arrived gradually, then all at once, and then it stayed. That's the difference between manifestation and alignment. Manifestation is temporary. Alignment is permanent. You're no longer asking for more proof. You're living as if it's already complete, because internally, it is. That assumption shapes everything that follows in your external reality. This isn't a peak you'll fall from. This is stability. This isn't a phase you'll grow out of. This is your baseline. Now you're no longer becoming aligned. You are aligned. And from this point forward, everything that enters your reality is an extension of that fundamental truth. The millions are already on their way. Not because you forced them, because you became someone who can hold them. The universe doesn't send millions to people who would collapse under the weight. It sends millions to people who have built the internal infrastructure to receive, manage, and circulate that energy without losing themselves. You built that infrastructure. Every challenge you faced was building it. Every moment you chose trust over panic was strengthening it. Every time you stayed open instead of bitter was expanding it. You are ready. Not ready to hope. Not ready to try. Ready to receive, there's a difference. Readiness is a state, not an action. And your state has shifted so fundamentally that the quantum field has no choice but to match it. This is physics. This is how energy works. This is how consciousness creates reality. Money responds to frequency. Your frequency has reached the level where millions can flow towards you without resistance. Not because you're special, because you're aligned. Not because you're lucky, because you're coherent. The universe isn't playing favorites. It's responding to resonance. And you're resonating at the frequency of abundance now. Watch what happens in the next 30 days. Watch how opportunities appear out of nowhere. Watch how conversations lead somewhere. Watch how ideas drop in fully formed. Watch how resources become available when you need them. Watch how people show up right on time. This isn't magic. This is alignment in action. This is what happens when your internal state matches the reality you're calling in. You don't need to force anything anymore. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to prove yourself. You simply need to stay in this frequency. Stay grounded. Stay grateful. Stay receptive. And let the quantum field do what it does naturally when it encounters coherence. It organizes reality to match. The millions aren't something you're waiting for. They're something that's already moving towards you. They're already in motion. They're already finding their way through the quantum field to your exact coordinates. Your job isn't to figure out how. Your job is to remain stable enough to receive them when they arrive. And here's what most people don't understand about receiving at this level. Receiving millions isn't just about opening a bank account and watching numbers increase. It's about becoming someone whose entire system can process that level of abundance without short-circuiting. It's about expanding your capacity to hold, circulate, and steward resources without losing your center, without losing your peace, without losing yourself. And this understanding of timing, this shift from force to flow, this is what I call moving beyond survival static into conscious transmission. What we're exploring today is one layer of a much deeper system. The principles of abundance we're discussing here are part of a larger framework of frequency mastery, where you're not just receiving wealth, you're becoming the broadcast that naturally attracts it. If you're feeling the pull to explore the complete architecture behind these shifts, to understand the 9 frequencies that govern all manifestation, I've laid out the entire system in Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery. It's linked in the pinned comment below. Think about it this way. If you've been living in a small room for years, and suddenly someone tells you that you now own an entire estate, there's an adjustment period. Your nervous system needs to acclimate. Your identity needs to expand. Your relationship with space needs to evolve. The same is true with money. Millions arriving to someone who hasn't built the internal capacity to hold millions creates chaos, not freedom. That's why so many lottery winners lose everything within years. The external wealth arrived, but the internal infrastructure wasn't there. But you're different. Every challenge you faced has been building that infrastructure. Every moment you chose faith over fear was expanding your capacity. Every time you stayed open instead of closing down was strengthening your ability to receive. You've been in training, and the training is complete. Your nervous system now knows what safety feels like. Your body now understands that abundance doesn't mean danger. Your mind now trusts that having more doesn't mean losing yourself. This internal shift is everything. Because the universe doesn't send resources to people who will be destroyed by them. It sends resources to people who can handle them, grow them, and use them to create more expansion. You are becoming a steward, not just a receiver. And stewardship is what allows wealth to multiply instead of evaporate. When you receive from a place of stewardship consciousness, you understand that money flowing to you isn't the end point. It's the beginning. You become a channel through which abundance flows, not a dam that stops it. And channels always receive more than dams because channels keep the energy moving. This is why your peace has become so important. This is why your calm has become so magnetic. Because peace and calm signal to the quantum field that you can hold more without fragmenting. Chaos signals that you're at capacity. Calm signals that you're ready for expansion. And the field always expands toward calm. Let's talk about what happens in your physical reality when millions start arriving. First, you'll notice opportunities that seem to appear out of nowhere. Someone will mention something casually in conversation that opens a door you didn't know existed. You'll receive a message from someone you haven't heard from in years, and that message will contain exactly what you need to move forward. You'll have an idea that seems random, but when you follow it, it leads directly to abundance. These aren't coincidences. These are quantum intersections. These are moments where your frequency has become so clear that the field can deliver precisely what matches it. The clearer your frequency, the more precise the delivery. And your frequency is clearer now than it's ever been. Second, you'll notice that money starts coming from multiple directions simultaneously. Not just one source, multiple streams. This is what exponential abundance looks like. It doesn't arrive in a single channel. It arrives in a flood from directions you weren't even looking toward. A client you forgot about pays you. An investment you wrote off suddenly pays dividends. A project you abandoned gets picked up by someone who wants to fund it. Someone offers you a partnership you never would have imagined. This is the quantum field organizing itself around your frequency. Third, you'll notice that your relationship with time changes. Things that used to take months happen in weeks. Things that used to take weeks happen in days. This isn't because you're working harder. It's because you're working in alignment. When you're aligned with the quantum field, time itself becomes more fluid. Opportunities mature faster. Decisions become clearer. Action produces exponential results because the field is supporting every move you make. But here's what you need to understand about this acceleration. It requires you to stay present. If you get ahead of yourself, if you start rushing toward the outcome, you disrupt the flow. The key is to move at the speed of alignment, not the speed of anxiety. Alignment has its own timing, and that timing is always perfect, even when your logical mind can't see the pattern yet. You're also going to notice changes in how people perceive you. There's an authority that forms when someone is aligned with abundance. It's not arrogance. It's not performance. It's simply the energetic signature of someone who knows they're supported by the universe. People sense this. They respond to it. They want to be around it. They want to do business with you. They want to collaborate with you. They trust you more quickly because they can feel that you trust yourself. This energetic authority opens doors that no amount of effort could open. It creates opportunities that no amount of networking could create. Because you're no longer operating from the frequency of need. You're operating from the frequency of overflow. And overflow attracts, need repels. This is why everything shifts once your internal state shifts. The external world is simply responding to what you're broadcasting. Now let's address something important. Fear. Even when you're aligned, even when you're ready, fear might still show up. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're expanding beyond what's familiar. Your system might try to pull you back into the known, into the comfortable, into the small. This is normal. This is the ego's attempt to keep you safe by keeping you the same. But here's what you need to know. That fear isn't a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're growing. It's a sign that you're expanding beyond your old identity. It's a sign that transformation is happening. The key is not to let that fear make your decisions. Feel it. Acknowledge it. Thank it for trying to protect you, and then move forward anyway. Because on the other side of that fear is everything you've been calling in. The millions aren't waiting for you to be fearless. They're waiting for you to be courageous. And courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking action despite the fear. It's trusting the alignment more than you trust the fear. Every time you move through fear, instead of letting it stop you, you expand your capacity. You prove to your nervous system that it's safe to grow. You prove to the universe that you're serious about this transformation. And the universe responds to that seriousness with more support, more resources, more opportunities. Let's also talk about what it means to hold millions energetically. Holding isn't the same as hoarding. Holding means you have the capacity to receive, manage, circulate, and grow resources without anxiety. Hoarding means you receive and then grip tightly because you're afraid it will disappear. Holding creates expansion. Hoarding creates stagnation. When you hold millions from a place of alignment, you understand that money is energy, and energy needs to move. It needs to flow. It needs to circulate. When you hoard, you stop the circulation, and the flow stops coming to you. When you hold with open hands, trusting that more is always available, the flow continues. It accelerates. It multiplies. This is why gratitude is so powerful. Gratitude is the energetic signature of holding with open hands. It's the frequency that says, I receive this, I appreciate this, and I trust there's more where this came from. That frequency keeps the channel open. It keeps the abundance flowing. It keeps you connected to the infinite supply that exists in the quantum field. So as millions begin arriving, practice gratitude constantly. Not as a technique to manipulate the universe, but as a genuine recognition of the abundance that's flowing. Thank the universe for the money that's already here. Thank it for the money that's on its way. Thank it for the opportunities that are forming. Thank it for the alignment you've achieved. That gratitude solidifies everything. You're also going to need to practice receiving without guilt. This is huge. So many people block their abundance because they feel guilty receiving when others don't have enough. But here's the truth. You receiving doesn't take from anyone else. The quantum field is infinite. There's enough for everyone. Your abundance doesn't diminish anyone else's potential abundance. In fact, when you receive and allow yourself to expand, you become proof that it's possible. You become inspiration. You become a frequency that others can tune into. Your wealth, when held in alignment, raises the collective frequency. It shows others what's possible. It gives people permission to expand. It demonstrates that the universe truly does support those who align. So receive without guilt. Receive with gratitude. Receive with the understanding that your abundance is part of the collective awakening. Another shift you'll notice is that your relationship with work changes. Work stops feeling like something you have to do to survive and starts feeling like something you get to do to create. This is the difference between hustle and flow. Hustle comes from lack consciousness. It's the belief that if you don't push, nothing will happen. Flow comes from alignment consciousness. It's the understanding that when you're aligned, your actions are amplified by the field itself. This doesn't mean you stop working. It means your work becomes effortless. It means you're no longer forcing outcomes. You're allowing them. You're taking inspired action, not desperate action. Inspired action feels light. It feels exciting. It feels aligned. Desperate action feels heavy. It feels forced. It feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill. When millions start flowing to you, it's because you've shifted from desperate action to inspired action. And here's something beautiful that happens when you operate from inspired action. You start enjoying the journey, not just anticipating the destination. You stop living in the future, constantly waiting for things to get better. You start experiencing fulfillment now, in this moment, even as you're building toward more. This present moment fulfillment is what makes the abundance sustainable. Because you're not chasing happiness anymore. You're living it. The millions that come to someone who's already happy amplify that happiness. The millions that go to someone who's still waiting to be happy often bring more problems than solutions. Because the money reveals that money wasn't the issue. The internal state was the issue. You've already shifted your internal state. That's why the millions coming to you will enhance your life, not complicate it. Let's talk about what to expect in the coming weeks and months. You're going to experience acceleration. Things will start moving faster than you're used to. Opportunities will stack. Options will multiply. Decisions will need to be made more quickly. This acceleration is a sign that you're in the flow. Don't resist it. Don't slow it down because it feels unfamiliar. Trust it. Move with it. Let yourself be carried by the momentum you've created through your alignment. At the same time, you'll need to protect your energy more carefully. As you rise in frequency, you'll become more sensitive to lower frequencies. Negative people will feel more draining. Chaotic environments will feel more overwhelming. Drama will feel intolerable. This isn't a problem. This is your system becoming more refined. Honor that refinement. Distance yourself from what drains you. Surround yourself with what elevates you. This isn't selfish. This is necessary for maintaining the frequency that's attracting your abundance. You'll also need to become more discerning about where you place your attention. Every time you engage with fear-based content, every time you absorb negative news, every time you participate in gossip or complaint, you're lowering your frequency temporarily. And while temporary dips are normal, if you're constantly dipping, you're disrupting your alignment. Choose consciously what you consume. Choose consciously who you engage with. Choose consciously where you direct your mental energy. This level of consciousness is what maintains millions. Anyone can attract a windfall, but keeping it, growing it, and using it wisely requires sustained alignment. You're building that sustained alignment now. Every conscious choice you make strengthens it. Every boundary you set protects it. Every moment of presence deepens it. There's something else happening beneath the surface that you need to understand. As your frequency rises to meet abundance, you're not just changing your financial reality. You're changing your entire energetic blueprint. You're rewiring neural pathways. You're releasing ancestral patterns around scarcity. You're breaking generational cycles of lack. This is deeper than personal transformation. This is lineage healing. Think about the generations before you who struggled, who worked themselves to exhaustion, who believed that money was scarce and life was hard. Those beliefs created energetic patterns that were passed down through your family line. And now, you're the one who's breaking those patterns. You're the one who's saying, "This ends with me. This cycle of struggle ends now." That decision carries weight in the quantum field. It carries power, and it accelerates your manifestation because you're not just shifting for yourself. You're shifting for everyone who came before you and everyone who comes after you. This is why some resistance might surface. Parts of you might feel disloyal to your ancestors by living in abundance when they struggled. Parts of you might feel guilty for breaking free when others in your family are still trapped in lack consciousness. But here's what you need to understand. The greatest honor you can give to those who struggled is to break free. The greatest gift you can give your lineage is to prove that a different reality is possible. Your abundance doesn't dishonor their struggle. It redeems it. It gives it meaning. It completes the cycle. So if guilt arises, thank it for its protection, and then release it. You are not betraying anyone by thriving. You are fulfilling the dream that they carried but couldn't manifest. You are becoming the answer to prayers that were spoken generations ago. This is sacred work. This is profound transformation, and it requires you to fully claim your right to abundance without apology. Now let's talk about the practical side of receiving millions. Because alignment is internal, but manifestation is both internal and external. When money begins flowing, you'll need practical systems to manage it. You'll need financial literacy. You'll need advisors. You'll need structures. This isn't about controlling the money. This is about stewarding it wisely so it can continue to grow and serve. Start educating yourself now. Learn about investments. Learn about tax strategies. Learn about wealth preservation. Learn about giving. Not because you're trying to force the money to arrive, but because you're preparing the container to hold it. The universe doesn't send resources to people who don't have a plan for them. It sends resources to people who are ready to steward them well. And stewardship includes generosity. It includes circulation. It includes using your abundance to create more abundance for others. When you operate from overflow consciousness, giving becomes natural. It becomes joyful. You're not giving from obligation or guilt. You're giving because you understand that giving is how you keep the flow moving. What you release comes back multiplied. What you hoard eventually stagnates. This is why the wealthiest people in the world who stay wealthy are often the most generous. Not because they're trying to buy good karma, but because they understand the energetic principles of abundance. They know that money is energy, and energy needs to circulate to stay alive. When you dam it up, it dies. When you let it flow, it multiplies. As millions come to you, create a giving practice. It doesn't need to be complicated. It can be as simple as choosing causes you care about and supporting them regularly. It can be helping family members who are struggling. It can be funding projects that align with your values. The key is that your giving comes from joy, not obligation. That it comes from overflow, not sacrifice. Because giving from overflow keeps you in the frequency of abundance. Giving from sacrifice puts you back in lack consciousness. You'll also notice that as you become wealthier, your problems don't disappear. They just change. You won't be worried about paying rent anymore, but you might be deciding between investment opportunities. You won't be stressed about groceries, but you might be managing a team. This is important to understand because some people expect that money will solve all their problems. It won't. It will solve money problems. but life will still present challenges. The difference is that you'll have more resources to meet those challenges. The goal isn't to eliminate all problems. The goal is to eliminate the problems that money can solve, so you can focus on the problems that actually matter. Problems of purpose, problems of meaning, problems of contribution. These are the problems worth having. These are the problems that lead to fulfillment. And you can't even begin to engage with these problems when you're stuck in survival mode. Money gives you the freedom to move beyond survival into purpose. That's its greatest gift. Let's also address the fear of visibility. As you become more abundant, you become more visible. People will notice. People will ask questions. People will have opinions about your wealth. Some will celebrate you. Others will judge you. This is inevitable. And this is where your alignment becomes crucial. Because if you're still seeking external validation, that judgment will destabilize you. But if you're rooted in internal validation, if you know that your abundance is aligned, then external opinions become irrelevant. You don't need anyone's permission to be wealthy. You don't need anyone's approval. You don't need to justify your abundance to anyone. Your wealth is between you and the universe. It's between you and your alignment. It's between you and your purpose. No one else's opinion matters. Let them think what they want. Let them say what they want. Your job is to stay in your frequency and let your life speak for itself. There's also this interesting phenomenon that happens when you become abundant. You'll start attracting people who want things from you. Opportunities that aren't actually opportunities but disguised extractions. People who suddenly want to be close to you for the wrong reasons. This is where discernment becomes essential. Not everyone who approaches you has pure intentions. Not every opportunity is aligned. You'll need to become skilled at sensing the difference between genuine connection and energetic vampirism. Trust your body. If something feels off, it probably is. If someone's energy feels heavy, there's a reason. If an opportunity feels forced, it's not aligned. Your intuition will become one of your most valuable assets as you navigate wealth. It will protect you from bad investments, toxic relationships, and misaligned ventures. But you can only hear your intuition if you're present, if you're grounded, if you're not moving so fast that you override those subtle signals. This is why presence is everything. This is why staying grounded is non-negotiable. Because the wealth you're calling in will bring increased complexity, increased options, increased demands on your attention. If you're not rooted in yourself, you'll get swept up in the chaos. But if you're grounded, you can move through the complexity with grace. You can make clear decisions. You can say no when necessary. You can protect your peace while still engaging with the abundance. Here's another truth about receiving millions. It will change your relationships. Some people won't be able to handle your expansion. They'll feel threatened by it. They'll try to dim your light. They'll criticize your choices. They'll create drama to pull you back down. This isn't about them being bad people. It's about them being unable to match your frequency. And that's okay. Part of your journey is learning to let people go with love, to release relationships that no longer serve your highest good, to trust that everyone who's meant to be with you at this level will naturally stay. New relationships will form. You'll attract people who are also aligned with abundance, who also understand quantum principles, who also value consciousness and growth. These relationships will feel different. They'll feel lighter. They'll feel more authentic. Because you're no longer tolerating connections that drain you. You're only engaging with connections that elevate you. This selectivity isn't elitism. It's energetic hygiene. It's protecting the frequency you've worked so hard to build. Let me also tell you what abundance at this level requires on a daily basis. It requires morning practices that anchor you in alignment before the world makes demands on you. It requires evening practices that clear the energy you've accumulated throughout the day. It requires moments throughout the day where you pause, breathe, and reconnect with your center. These practices aren't optional luxuries. They're essential maintenance for the frequency you're holding. Without these practices, you'll start drifting. You'll start reacting instead of responding. You'll start making decisions from fear instead of clarity. And those fear-based decisions will disrupt your alignment. They'll create static in the signal. They'll slow down the flow. So commit to your practices. Make them sacred. Protect them. Let them be the foundation that everything else is built upon. Meditation, even just 10 minutes a day, will keep you connected to the quantum field. Gratitude journaling will keep you in the frequency of appreciation. Visualization will keep your desires clear and active in the field. Movement will keep energy flowing through your body. These simple practices compound over time. They create the stability that allows millions to arrive and stay. You're also going to need to become comfortable with uncertainty. Because even though you're aligned, even though the millions are coming, you won't always know exactly when or how. The quantum field doesn't operate on your timeline. It operates on perfect timing. And perfect timing often looks different than what your logical mind would choose. So you'll need to trust the unknown. You'll need to be comfortable with the space between planting and harvest. You'll need to know that just because you can't see movement doesn't mean nothing is happening. In fact, the most powerful transformations often happen in the invisible realm first. Seeds germinate underground before they break through soil. Babies form in darkness before they're born into light. Your abundance is forming in the quantum field before it manifests in your bank account. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And when doubt creeps in, and it will, don't fight it. Don't resist it. Don't make it mean anything about your alignment. Doubt is just old programming trying to reassert itself. It's your ego's last attempt to keep you small and safe. Acknowledge the doubt. Feel it. And then consciously choose faith anyway. Every time you choose faith over doubt, you're rewiring your brain. You're creating new neural pathways. You're teaching your system that it's safe to believe in abundance. If this video is landing for you, consider returning to it each morning for the next 7 days. Let it recalibrate your frequency before the world makes its demands. And if someone you care about is ready for this shift, share this with them. When you share these quantum principles, you're not just helping them, you're reinforcing your own frequency, creating an energetic ripple in the field that accelerates manifestation for both of you. Every person who awakens to abundance consciousness raises the collective frequency, making it easier for everyone. Before we close, I want you to do something. Drop one word in the comments that captures the energy you're choosing right now. The frequency you're committing to. Not what you hope to feel, what you're deciding to embody. One word, your energetic signature to the quantum field. Comment that word now. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Subscribe not just to stay connected, but to stay coherent, to stay aligned, to stay in this frequency, because the more of us who embody this truth, the more powerfully the collective field shifts. The more of us who know we're ready to receive millions, the more the world reflects that possibility back to everyone. This is not the end. This is the confirmation. You are aligned. The millions are moving. And nothing can stop what's already in motion. Stay in this frequency. Stay grounded in this knowing. And watch your reality transform to match the truth you finally become. Now, what we've explored today about becoming the frequency of abundance connects directly to something even deeper. Understanding that emotions themselves are frequencies is what unlocks instant reality shifts. When you recognize how to work with emotional frequencies consciously, you stop reacting to reality and start creating it. That's exactly what I break down in the next video. You'll discover how to identify which emotional frequencies are keeping you locked in old patterns and which ones instantly align you with what you're calling in. Watch it now.